So this is so much fun. I get the honor and privilege and delight of interviewing Dr. Judith Boice today about her journey in working with me and what she's created. And so welcome, Judith. So great to be here with you.
Thank you, Natalie, for the invitation.
Yeah. And so Judith, tell us briefly about what you do and who you serve. And I know you serve, more than one audience. So just, let us know.
Great. So I work with people in two major ways right now. One is to support people who want to learn how to take care of their family in home medical emergencies with natural medicines. They want to raise their kids as naturally as possible so they have healthy, happy, creative children. So that's one group of people with what is called the Green Medicine Chest training. And then I also work with people who want to explore wisdom, and they want to use writing as a tool to be able to explore their deepest, wildest wisdom. And those are all, like, my underpinning is that I'm a naturopathic physician, an acupuncturist, an award-winning writer and teacher. So those are my sort of my credentials underneath those things, but those are my real passions, is helping people know how to take care of their families with natural medicines and how to access wisdom through writing.
That's so great. Okay, so what was your situation in terms of offering, like having an online course or teaching people about the writing before you came to me?
So I didn't realize this till we actually started our work together. I was reading back through some old journals of business ideas and things I was doing, and realized I had an idea for creating a writing program 4 years ago. And I actually even had a rough outline for it, and then I forgot about it. And then I went to a business workshop training a couple of years ago, and it came up again. And I actually started the work of fleshing it out more, and I had a name. The Wild Wisdom Writers came at that time. But again, I was in a place of being really overwhelmed with just my day-to-day work in the clinic and taking care of business. I also teach for 4 different universities. I was just overwhelmed with the amount of stuff that I was doing. And always in the background, I was hoping to get that program up and running. And finally, this last summer, I left the brick and mortar practice work. And this summer, I finally had this space, and I thought, this is it. I really want to create this program. And I knew that you, Natalie, would have the skill, because we've worked together on program creation in the past. I knew that you would have the skill to really help me create an outstanding program, and not only the program itself, but the way to explain it and express it to people so they would understand the value of it.
Mm. And that's so beautiful. And so, Judith, why is it that you wanted to create an online course, and especially on this topic?
Right. I'll say why I wanted to create the course, and then why this topic is a little bit longer answer. So for years, I've been working on trying to figure out how to take my work and put it together in a way that would allow me to create courses that actually supported me. I've created other courses in the past, but marketing has been the hardest part. It's easy and enjoyable, fun for me to create courses, but the marketing part is my challenge. So the timing was right to say, I really want to make a go of this so that I can actually have more of my income come from writing and offering these courses to people. So then the longer piece about why the writing course, I do an annual retreat every year, a silent retreat. It's backpacking and fasting, and usually in the Haleakala Crater, although it's not been the last few years because of COVID. And for years, I've been hearing more and more inner prompting about writing and getting ideas about books. Like there were a couple of the retreats when I woke up in the middle of the night and there was a download of an entire outline of a book. That's happened a couple times. So there have been these inner promptings saying, it's time to write, it's time to write. And also to write from that, what I call the inner sanctum. And the inner sanctum for me are all of the extraordinary beings in the spiritual realm that the the sense that I had internally, and I don't have any way of proving this, but the sense I had of sitting in circle with these incredible wise beings. And so the prompting was, carve out space and time in your life to listen, and not exactly to be a scribe, but to be a conduit for this level of wisdom, that came through the inner sanctum. And when I was on the retreats, I would get into these really deep altered states where it was easy to connect with that level of wisdom and to write from that place. And then the work has become, how do I do that in my daily life? And I realized that I wanted to do this work for myself, to learn how to have access to this level of wisdom on a daily, ongoing basis. And then I thought, well, why don't I bring other people along with me for the ride? I'd be doing this anyway. I'd be doing these explorations anyhow on my own. Why not bring along other people to join me in that journey? So that was the spark finally of saying, okay, I'm going to go for it. I'm going to create this program because I want to invite other people to join me. Not like, look at me, I've got it all figured out, but it's more like, let's go co-exploring.
Oh, that's so cool. So tell us about the course that you created.
So the Wild Wisdom Writers is a course that's an 8-week journey. It's an 8-week exploration of looking at wisdom and entering different aspects of wisdom. I have this image of a diamond, and you know how a polished diamond has different facets, of entering through different gateways, and the diamond being wisdom, like entering through the gateway of attuning to the elements in our body, attuning to the ancestors, attuning to wisdom and spiritual lineage, and also attuning directly to spirit. It's all a process of listening. And the other thing that I realized as I was preparing is that there's also a level of feeding of the soul, of also learning how to listen to other wisdom writings with our body, like really learning to listen with our whole being, our whole bodies, so that the wisdom writings of others can be deeply nourishing. So it's a process of learning to write from that place, but also listening to allow the wisdom writings of others to deeply impact us.
Well, I know how delicious this is because I am actually a student in your Wild Wisdom Writers. And I feel like, I mean, exactly what you're saying, that you've used these food and eating metaphors. It's like a deeply nourishing, the most delicious food meal that you've never had anything like it before, or maybe you've just had a little taste of it, here and there. So, and I also just love seeing you, I know this background that's behind you here is a photo that you took, and I know that in your course, we spoke to trees, we spoke to the earth, we spoke to the air, to water. And so this feels like the perfect background for you right here for this conversation, because it brings to mind so much of what we actually did in the Wild Wisdom Writers, or am doing. We're not quite finished.
Right. And thank you, Natalie, but actually I can't take credit for this one.
Oh, you can't.
The other ones we looked at, we were going through other beautiful images. This one I can't take credit for.
Okay.
But it is, and thank you. I get chills just hearing you describe, Natalie, because that is the core of the wisdom, and that food, that nourishment is right here, right around us in our daily lives.
Yeah.
And it's right here in our body and our bones. Our ancestors are right here. They are part of our bones. Mm. So it's finding that wisdom and also allowing it to deeply nourish. So thank you for that description.
Yeah. So, there's a couple things, there's multiple rewards that we get when we offer an online course. Certainly one of them is getting paid. It's the money, because, it's wonderful to be able to serve a number of people at once, and, watch the community that's formed and all of that. But it's also so nourishing, I'll use that word again, to witness how the students evolve, the transformation, what they, develop. So talk to us a little bit about, what were the rewards that you got from this course?
Well, some of the things that have happened for some of the participants in the group, one woman had a very deeply spiritually oriented practice for, at least a decade or 2 decades. But she said at one point, she had this kind of mystified look in her eyes, and she said, I realize I only know this much of the world. And so through this work of entering these different gateways, she realized, oh my gosh, I've only paid attention to this much of the world, and look how much more of the world there is to explore. Another person is a singer-songwriter. She's had a fair amount of success in her local community, and she's never gotten to that big breakthrough to get onto a national stage, but she's definitely talented enough to be on that stage. And because of a whole range of different life circumstances and kind of tragedies really that happened in her life, she'd stopped writing for over 10 years. She'd stopped doing her songwriting work. And this work has reignited her writing. And she actually didn't come to class one day because she said, I'm going off to this songwriting workshop with, and I can't remember because the songwriting world doesn't mean that much to me. I'm going off to be with so-and-so, and they were the person who helped Michael Jackson with his lyrics. And I was like, oh my gosh, she's off and running. And so even though the point of the program is not necessarily to spark people to do their writing work, listening to that deep core often begins to spark other parts of people's lives. And if they did have a desire to write, to help them get back on track, or to put their foot on that track for the first time. And to me, that's so powerful, because then the writing comes from a completely different space. And there are other, and I have to say, the group is such an extraordinary group. I'm honored to be part of the group. One person had such beautiful, just really lovely writing from her traditions and heritage. And she said, in the past, I always thought I needed all of these kind of like priming the well and getting ready to write. I needed all this stuff. And she said, I realized I could sit down and write. I could just sit down and write. And so I think that's part of the gift of it too, is learning how to enter those facets of that wisdom diamond and be able to sit down and just immediately access and begin to write.
Oh, it sounds like it's deeply fulfilling for you to witness what your students have done. And I know the writing, listening to their writing has been so inspiring to me.
Absolutely. And that was part of one of the gateways for wisdom that came to me as I was creating the course, and that's collective wisdom.
Yes.
To be able to have a group that comes together like a chalice to receive this wisdom, and then to be able to share it together, that is a whole nother level, like a whole nother facet of that diamond.
Yeah, that's beautiful. So talk to us about the financial reward.
So for this course, and I have to say, just to give perspective, of all of the other courses and trainings I've created, I like on a fabulous launch, I might have made $5,000, so it wasn't like that I could report to you that I had $100,000, $300,000 launches. That's not been my history. So for me, this particular launch, I was able to bring together 10 women, which was definitely a record for one of the live classes that I've given. And altogether, the income from the course was $3,200, which to me was significant. And I felt like, okay, if I can do this on a first run, and then if I can bring more marketing work to it and make the classes even larger, this could potentially become a significant portion of my income, which would be such a gift. So it was a really solid, really hopeful beginning.
Oh, it's so wonderful. And so, Judith, what kind of obstacles, inner or outer, could have stopped you, perhaps stopped you in the past, but could have stopped you from getting this course out into the world?
There's actually a point in the creation of the program when I just collapsed and said, see, nobody's going to want it. see, nobody's going to sign up. And Natalie said, Judith, I want to sign up for this. So there, you've got an audience. And in a very loving way, said, just snap out of it. And so Natalie was really instrumental in helping me to believe, yeah, I can do this. I have evidence. I can move forward. And there were people who said yes, and there were people who said no. But compared to my experience in the past, there were definitely a much higher percentage who said yes. And I think that was in large part because of the work that we did on writing and being able to use words and ways of research of reaching people that were effective. So I definitely tend to kind of collapse when things are not going easily and feel like, oh, here it is again. I've got this up. I'm really good at creating courses. I'm no good at marketing them. And you were really instrumental in supporting me through that collapse to get back up and to continue moving forward to get the course completely filled and on its way.
It's so great to hear. And, you know, being a participant in your course, it's just delightful to be experiencing your success as well as witnessing it from the outside.
Thank you, Natalie.
So Judith, what do you think? So you named one thing, you know, me really letting you know, hey, I think this is a viable course. I actually want to take it. What were some of the other things in our work together that you felt were really helpful in getting you to your point of success?
A lot of it was there are two major things come to mind. One is finding the words, and there are the interviews that I did with people that were really helpful to figure out what was important to them. Like what were the touchstones for them that would make them interested in doing some form of a writing course, and also what was important to them in their inner lives and their spiritual work. That was really important, and also to have help with polishing and fine-tuning those words, because I believe in the past, most of the time when I've created copy, I've been writing what I thought people wanted to hear. And instead, it was a combination of, yes, what they said or wanted to hear, but also what was true for me. It was bringing those two things together, like my truth along with what was important for other people. There was finding that intersection. So it was a really authentic. And I'm sorry to say the other part of the question, because it sparked, there was another piece that I wanted to share.
What was most helpful to you? What were some of the things that were helpful to you? Yeah.
The other piece was then finding the people. How was I going to fill this class? And Natalie had some fabulous low-tech ideas about how to do that. And I realized too that I required going internally to ask that source of wisdom, what's going to be the best way for me to find these people? And Natalie was supportive and encouraging me to follow that answer. And for me, it was sending emails out to people, like individual, personalized emails to people I knew whom I thought would be really good fit. And about half of those people said yes to doing the training. So it was a combination of your wisdom and ideas, Natalie, and then also listening inwardly and bringing those things together to figure out what's going to be the best way to reach these people to fill the course.
One of the reasons I love that so much is because I see that you used the very method that you are teaching in the Wild Wisdom Writers as a way to tap into, you know, what's going to be a low-tech, simple, easy marketing method that I can use to fill this course. And you heard the answer and you took action, you did it, and it worked. It filled your course for you.
Yes, yes. And so I appreciated the wisdom, and then also your willingness to support me and going off on that road. Yeah. So it felt like it, for me, the method needed to be in integrity with what I was trying to do.
Yeah. Well, not only was I supportive of you, but I actually added that method to the suggestion for other students because I think it's so brilliant. Yeah.
Great. Oh, good. Yeah. For me, that was what worked.
So Judith, what are you optimistic about now? Your course is almost complete. It finishes tomorrow. What are you optimistic about going forward?
I'm optimistic that the program itself is viable, that it's a worthwhile program. I'm excited to continue to be in contact with this group of women, this extraordinary group of women, to see if there are other ways that we might work together in the future. And it also gives me a solid base to then think about, okay, what's the next step for offering the course again? And I feel like I have more skill, I have more tools, I have more knowledge about how to refine the course itself, but also how to get it to people, the vehicle to be able to get it to people. So those are really powerful things. I don't, how can I say this? Before, when I've created the programs, there's been this big push into creating the programs. And then it's sort of like having a folly in the middle of the desert. Okay, now what do I do with it? So I feel like I not only have the refinement of the course, but also ideas about how I want to move forward with offering it to people, getting it out into the world.
No, so beautiful. Well, Judith, huge congratulations. Big hug to you. Super well done. I'm so happy for you. I'm so proud of you. And I'm so appreciative that I get to, support you in this as a student, as a paying student in your course, which is very meaningful for me.
And thank you, Natalie. You've been my cheerleader, my champion, and also the person with the expert tools to really help me and support me in that process. So thank you.
It's mutual.